My name is Clara. I'm the founder of Hope Spring Eternal Introduction Agency and the founder of Ngosi Talk Show. So I help my clients find their own voice, lead from within, and I help them begin their love story so they can cherish those memories for the rest of their lives. So, my topic today is how do you rebuild a struggling relationship? So, it's been a very challenging year. 2020 has been very, very challenging. Some relationship didn't survive, broken families, but some relationships survived and they're still broken and they're struggling due to so many reasons, due to finances, due to loss of jobs, due to all sorts of different things. And so the question that I can ask you today is, have you placed a limitation in your relationship? It could be a relationship with your loved ones. It could be a relationship with your spouse. Relationship is a relationship. So have you lost a connection with your spouse and within yourself? Losing connection, it doesn't mean that when you lose connection with yourself, you lose connection with your spouse. If you have a connection within, that means you can work on your relationship. But if you lose connection within the spirit of love, which is your inner being, that connection, your relationship will struggle. So, what do you see when you are faced with challenges in life? What you see in that relationship is the reality. Some people, they see the problems when they occur and they choose to ignore them. But you, as a person, as a creator of that relationship, you have to trust yourself. You have to trust your inner feeling. Because if your feelings tell you that something is not right in this relationship, so you can start working on that relationship. So, how do we rebuild a relationship? I'm only going to be here 15 or 10 or 15 minutes. So, how do we rebuild your relationship? The process is very, very simple. You have to identify the problem first. You need to be able to identify where the problem is. Then it comes the solving process. So how do we identify where the problem is? How do we actually identify the problem in your relationship? So first you need to ask yourself, what are the underlines of is there any underlying problems in this relationship that have been going on for a long, long time? You have to identify that. Consult your inner being. You have to trust your inner being. You have to trust yourself. You have to believe in yourself and believe in the questions. If your inner being says, I'm not happy, that means your inner being is not happy. So you need to consult your inner being within. The underlying problems that you see in reality. Then you consult your spouse about the problem that you believe this is the problem in your relationship. Then you need to state the problem. Specifically, you need to state the problem. What is the problem in that relationship? Avoid solving the problem with blame, involving blame. Don't blame yourself. Some people, they make mistakes, they want to blame themselves. My relationship is not working because of what I've done, because I didn't do this, because I didn't do this. No, if you want to solve the problem, you have to take away the blame. You have to take away the blame, blaming your spouse. Relationship that lasts for a long time is going to face challenges, is going to face the problems. So you have to be aware of that. Some people solve the problems by, see, I'm standing here. Wanna solve the problem, baby? I'm gonna run. I'm gonna run. This is not what I asked for. But hey, wherever you run to, if you are a runner, you're always gonna be a runner. Face the problem. Our generation, we don't want to face the problems, we want to run. So face the problem that you are facing in that relationship. Face it. So how do we face the problem? Now we need to face the problem. How do you think we solve the problem? We have to go back. Solving the problems, you have to go back to the big promise. The big promise is when your relationship began. Promises were made that I will do this. I will love you till you make me feel this. I can't live without you, but I can. But those were the promises. Those are the promises, things people make when they are really, really, really in love. I can't live without you. You make me feel like a king. You make me feel like a princess. Those are big promises from the beginning. I'm looking for a woman who's going to love me for me. I'm looking for a man who's going to love me for me, who is going to accept me for me. I'm looking for a man who is financially independent. I'm looking for a woman who is financially independent. These are promises that are being made. Now, when the relationship is struggling, you have to go back to those big promises that were made from the beginning. I love to travel. I love to do this. I love to do this. I'm looking for a woman that can stand by me. I'm looking for a woman who can give me children. Now the woman is gave birth to 4 children. The man goes, you know what? She can deal with the kids. Then the relationship is going to struggle because one person is not making an effort. The other person is making an effort. So the promises, if from the beginning, you have to go back. This is how you solve the problem. Go back to the beginning when you all met, the promises that were made. So what happens is people grow. We grow, but we don't change. A person that grows for the right reasons, they don't change, but they grow. Like myself, I'm not the same person that I was 3 years ago. I'm not the same person that I was 5 years ago. I have grown, but I'm still the same person. Personal development, my mindset is grown, but I'm still the same person. I think differently, but I still think the same. The promises that I have made are still the same. I'm looking for a man. I need a man that can help me, to grow, that can support me, that can be my cheerleader, that can be this, that I can travel around the world with that man. My promises are still the same, have not changed. But then when you meet someone, you start living together, those promises don't matter anymore. They have no meaning anymore. So you have to go back when your relationship is struggling. You have to go back to the promises that were made when you decided to enter that exclusive relationship. Enter the spirit of love. Those were the promises. I don't know your promises, but you need to go back. You're going to have to go back because everyone is different. The promises for everyone are different. I can sit here and tell you, this is how I solved my problems, but that doesn't mean it's going to work for you. What worked for me is not going to work for you. So you know your promises. You know your want. You know your desires. You know what you want in life. And those were the promises, the desires, the values, family values. Those were the ones that connected you with the man or the woman that you are in a relationship with, that you are struggling right now. So you need to go back to those promises and work on those promises. My promises are different. So go back to those promises, what was promised in that relationship, and work on it. So that's how you solve a struggling relationship. Because when you meet somebody you've been together for 5 years, for 7 years, for 10 years, you forget the promises that you made. Promises of going out, having date nights. Promises of going out, having fun. The things that we take for granted, for walks. You don't have to pay to go for walks. You can go for walks and have fun with your spouse. You can do just simple things, but those simple things we take it for granted. When you've been with someone for a long time, you start asking yourself, I don't need to do this. I don't need to do this because I have what I wanted. But you don't have to do that. You still have to keep the promises. So that is how you solve the problem. So, and then in the last one, now you have to, when you solve that problem, once you face the problem, you identify the problem. Once you've gone back to the promises, you have to implement. Some people run. They choose to run instead of going back to their promises that were made from the beginning and rebuild, rewrite your own story. But some people choose to run and say, I don't want to be here because I'm not happy. But then when they go and find another victim. That is, you're not going to make that victim happy. You're going to meet that victim from the beginning. Baby, what do you want? This is what I want. This is my desires. This is my family values. This is my want. This is my this. This is my this. 2 years down the line, the same thing happens because you ran from that relationship. If there is no abuse in that relationship, so you can solve the problem as long both parties are willing to solve the problem. That's why you have to begin by going back to the promises. You get it, even if you get a professional coach, they're gonna take you back to the beginning. The promises. Please tell me about your promises. What did you promise? And when you tell the coach about the promises, so the coach is gonna want to know, are you keeping both? Are you both keeping those promises? This is where it starts saying, she doesn't take notice of me. He doesn't take notice of me. She does this. He does this. And then the coach is like, okay. And then the relationship will be fixed. You have to, and then you dig deep. The relationship will be fixed. You have to be honest. When when your relationship is struggling, what you see that moment is real. You have to be honest with it, because if you live in that relationship and you know that you're not happy, you're gonna end up with the depression. You're gonna end up with mentally health problems. So when you see that I'm not happy in this relationship, take the step to fix that relationship. Take the step to speak to your spouse without blaming them. Sometimes we make problems without realizing. So speak to the Manufacturer, don't go and speak to your family. People, when they have problems within a relationship, they go and speak to their family. He annoys me, she annoys me, she does this, he does this. It become a story, family are involved, no problems being solved. So if you want to take my advice, leave the family out of it. Leave the children out of it. But you in it, your spouse in it, and solving that struggling relationship. That's all you can do, is to leave your children out of your problems, leave your family, your friends out of it, and solve the problem without blaming, without blaming your spouse. So that's all you've got to do. Then you begin your love story that you began 5 years ago. A relationship is all about challenges. It's all about glory. It's all about joy. Anyone that is in a relationship that say, I've never had any problems. I'm a relationship coach. I have problems in my relationship. But the difference is I can identify my problems and I can face them. I'm not afraid to face my problems. So that's why I chose this topic today. Say, if your relationship is struggling, identify the problem. Then go back to the promises. Then sympathize with your spouse. Sympathize with yourself. You, when you are having problems, that moment, you are the most important person in that problem. Your spouse is the most important person in that problem, whether it's he or she, because you are going to go in that journey solving the problems together. So you have to understand that you need to look after yourself mentally and physically, solving the problems with care, because you are the value, you are the product, you are the product, and your spouse is the product in that relationship. When the product is broken, no one can buy it. There will be no sex if it's broken. There will be no kissing if the product is broken. There will be no communication if the product is broken, which is you. So you need to take good care of yourself. There will be no love for children if the product is broken, which is you. You can't love the kids if you are not happy. So that's why it's very, very important to make sure that physically, mentally, you look after yourself when you're solving the problems, which is you get a coach to look after yourself. Some people are really, really good in self-taught. They can teach themselves, but it takes courage to do that. It can happen. You can teach yourself. You can coach yourself. It takes courage. It takes determination. It takes wanting to change. But having a coach, that means you have someone that can hold you accountable. But there are both ways works. If you don't have money, if you are like me, that when I really, really have problems, it doesn't matter how much money I have. When I really, really have problems, if I really, really want to solve that problem, I don't mind going on YouTube, sitting for 2 hours, learning about the problems that I'm going through. I don't mind reading a book. I don't mind listening to an audio for 20 hours. I don't mind, because I don't want that problem to be in my life. If I go to a coach, they teach me what I know, but I still have to implement my own principles. So you still have to do the work. You still have to, when you go to a coach, they tell you this is how they solve problems. They don't actually tell you what to do. They work with you psychologically, they work with you for you to realize where the problem is and uproot everything that is in that problem. Once you've taken out all the layers of the problem, uprooted everything that you don't want in your life, then it will be you now putting principles in place. That's what coaching is about. You still have to do the work. I'm a love harmonist. I help people connect. I go to my clients' houses. I listen to their problems. I listen to how I can help them begin their love story, how I can help them write their own story, but they still have to do the work. I go out with them for meals, trying to understand it, trying to see their personality, trying to see their image, their character. But then they have to do the work. When I'm saying do the work, it means this, it has to want to get married. This has to want to choose the right man. This has to want to choose the right woman. Say, I've had enough of women that are coming into my life and wasting my time. I have enough of men who are coming into my life and wasting my time. It means when you go out, you're going to select the right one. Even if I select the woman to go on a date with you, that means you have the final say to say, I'm going to choose her or I'm going to choose him. Because now you understand who you are. You understand your want, your desires. That's what life is about. It means you go out, select the person that you want. That means when you have a problem, you're going to go back to the promises that were made, that I've made a promise to my spouse, that I'm going to be this, I'm going to be this. And that character, am I that character? Am I helping? Am I supporting? Who am I becoming? Or did I choose? Simply, it might be your relationship is struggling because you have the right person in your life. Did I choose the right person in my life? Because sometimes when you choose people, you can make mistakes. Mistakes happen. And a few years down the line, you realize that actually I chose the wrong person. It could be simple. You are dating the wrong person. So that means that if you are dating the wrong person, you have to have the courage to actually change your relationship to the person that you want in your life. Just because you are in a relationship, it doesn't mean that you have the right person in your life. It might be simple, you are struggling because you have the wrong person in your life. So that's when the courage, you have to go back to the promises. This person promised to be my cheerleader. They promised to be my architect. This woman promised to be my this, but she's a different person. I come from work. I've worked 5 hours, 10 hours, 11 hours. She screams. The man is grumpy all the time. I can't get a word out of him. Were those promises part of the deal? No. Is the relationship fixable? I don't know. So that means you have to evaluate your relationship. There's a difference between someone who is grumpy because they are grumpy that moment. That is part of the journey. But there is a difference between someone who is abusive and grumpy. Always. A human being cannot stand for that. So that's what I'm talking about. So that's what you need to monitor. If you are struggling in that relationship, and then rewrite your story. When you are rewriting your story, you are rewriting your story based on your want, based on your desires. Hi, Mr. Ballocks. How you doing? How are you? Do you have a question for me? So that's what the relationship is about. That's how you write your own story. If you are struggling, it's very simple. Very, very simple. If you are struggling in relationship, to actually rewrite your own story is very simple. Very, very simple. It's your mind that has to make a decision wanting to change for better. It is you that has to make that decision. 2000 was it 2009? Oh yeah, I began my journey. My relationship fell apart. I went to three psychologists looking for them to help me, but they couldn't. It was because they were not the right psychologists for me. No, they were right psychologists for me. But here, I hadn't made up my mind that I thought I did, but I hadn't made up my mind. I was going once a week. We talk about my issues, childhood, my parents' childhood, and we'll talk about that journey. We'll talk about the journey of my life, what I do, and the things, my life with my children, and things like that. And then I go home and give me some work to do, exercises to do. I do it. I go home and do it. But I finish with those three people, different psychologists going to them. And then after I realized that it was me that wasn't ready, my mind wasn't ready. But when I did finish with the last person, then I realized something was wrong. There's something that wasn't connecting with my mind. That's when I began my journey on my own with another coach. But at that moment, I had made a decision that I really, really need to change. I really, really did not like the life my life where it was going, the journey where I was going. I did not like it. I couldn't make a decision about my life. I would just make decisions wanting to please my friends, wanting to please my family, but not wanting to please my inner being. Then that caused pain, that caused frustration. When you don't make a decision, you make a decision based on people, it causes pain, it causes disappointment because within it's not you. You are not making decisions based on you. So when it comes to love, it's like that. You have to make a decision based on you, based on what you desire, based on saving the other person as well. If your relationship is struggling, you've got to make that choice yourself based on what is going on in your relationship, based on the promises that were made. You can go to any coach, they will tell you the same that it is you that has to make that choice. When you speak to them, they'll make you realize that actually it is you that makes the decision. They just talk to you. They trigger your memories. They trigger you everything within you. And then you realize actually it is me that needs to make that choice. It is me that needs to make that decision. It is me that needs to put principles in place. So if you are looking for love, you can go to my website, www.hseia.com, Hope Spring Eternally Introduction Agency. Women join for free, provided you have a job, you're working. If you don't have a job, there's got to be a reason why. Some people have been laid off. Some people had jobs, and they decided to become students to do something. As long as you're a driven woman, I take you. I want women who are driven. A woman who knows what they want. If you know what you want, what you desire, you can register. Men, the process is different. Men, they're paid members, they are members. So they are my clients. Women are members. So you register and then I get in touch with you. I meet all my clients face to face. It doesn't matter where you are based. I cover South Africa, I cover Kenya, I cover Brazil, and I cover all around Europe. So I meet all my clients face to face. So if you register, that means I have to travel and see you. So that's how the agency works. I travel and see you. And goes to talk shows. You can watch us Monday to Friday, 1 p.m. UK time. That is Ngozi Talk Show, where we help our clients find their own voice and lead from within. God bless you, everyone, and I'll see you tomorrow at 1 p.m. UK time.